So maybe you have noticed recent discussion about global environmental problems. Yes, some did. Uh, I would like to welcome here local guys from Project Parallel Garden who will bring a little bit different answer to questions raised by uh, environmental movements who mostly address their requests to governments and big corporations. But Parallel Garden will try to show a little bit different approach to environmental challenges, which was built on parallel polis values and principles which don't rely on central authorities or big entities and try to solve global problems, but focus on what we can do now and here. Parallel Garden is also very, I would say, like flagship project of Parallel Polis program because they do great lectures, regular Enviro meetups, but they also do lots of physical stuff. They build hydroponias, farm bots, and they develop with a very straightforward vision of some development. They are going to introduce you in today's lecture. So I would like to welcome on stage Radim Kozub. Radim Kozub is member of board, let's say, of our legal association that is interface to the state. Parallel Polis has interface to the state to be able to pay rent and these things. So Radim, as co-founder of Blockchain Legal and professional attorney, covers the legal issues. Then I would like to welcome Michal Zatrepalek, who comes to the stage with us. Guy with background in mining tries to implement his experiences from mining in environmental problems and solutions. And the last one is Jakub Hamata. And Jakub is kind of a science geek who is a professional in landscape creating, gardening, and biology in wide sense of its word. So, guys, I pass the mic and please.
Thank you very much for introduction and good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming for our presentation tonight. I guess the reason you're here is you are somehow interested in environmental topics. You probably think, how could someone think he can change such complex and global topics from scratch? And maybe you're also interested, like how Parallel Garden project is connected to Parallelní Polis and what exactly is it. Tonight, we would like to share our story with you, simply. And the reason why we are doing that is we would like to give you a cookbook. The cookbook, how to start a parallel project, maybe parallel startup. So we would like to explain what is it, a parallel project actually, and what was our path until today, and what are the principles, what are the specific installations and steps we did. So let me start with the maybe a little bit of theory and theoretical part, and we'll get more and more specific to the towards end. Big problem issue. This was in the beginning of our project. Probably all of you have something like a big problem, something you feel it's a big problem. Let's say global one. For us, the big problem was unsustainable approach to agriculture, wasting of natural resources, but also one specific issue we had, and this was a very unsophisticated way of mining cryptocurrencies, especially when not using the huge amount of residual heat that is coming out from the mining. So we were looking for the solution, how to deal with that, and like, what can we do actually? For big problems, what is similar and what is common for them is definitely they're mostly global, they cause some mass harm or at least the threat of it, and they usually breach your fundamental values you have. Also, they usually need a big solution. So, for example, if the truck hits your house, so it's broken, it's destroyed, you have to repair it, you have to contact insurance company and so on. If the hurricane hits Haiti, for example, or Florida, it's completely different story. It's completely different solution you need to take. But this example has one advantage, because if you have something like a catastrophe, you already know what the results are, you already know what happened. So you're looking for a solution on something, then you know what is it. Like, you have to solve the existing problems. The problem of most of big global problems is that we're actually not so certain of them. There is usually some social consensus to a certain extent, but on the other hand, not all of them is like the global one. Not for all of them is everyone agree with that, and the scientific findings are just part of this consensus. So, is it really that big, the problem? If environmental issues are a big problem, it's actually maybe the most complicated big problem you can have. It's complex, it's definitely a long-term issue that appears in long-term perspective, as well as its consequences. And of course, there are economic interests that are strongly affected, usually by that. Then what is the best solution on environmental issues? We may think of it, we may think we know it, but first of all, we have to look for them. How can we do it? We need some kind of approach, at least in the beginning. We can typologize them into 3 approaches. So as you can see, it's a reformative approach. So for example, you participate in a Green Party, you get elected to the parliament. It might be the radical approach, the protests, so you can participate in Fridays for Future or Extinction Rebellion, or it could be creating parallel structures. Excuse me. Sorry, I won't. So reformative. The reformative approach, it's something done on a high managerial level, usually in politics. So regulation is a typical instrument of such an approach. If you regulate something, you are actually proposing and imposing some rules, and these rules are to be enforced by force in case they are not, that someone is not complying with them. This is the disadvantage of the reformative approach, because once you're forcing someone to do something, except of, let's say, ethical aspect, also it's not so easy to find out if it's effective or not. So even if you, for example, in your individual case, find out it doesn't work, you still have to comply with that. Otherwise, you're under the risk of penalty, and your motivation is not to get the penalty. Then the quantifiable impact of such instruments is not certain very often, because you can say, all right, there's some regulation, but how exactly this regulation affects the result? there will be many, many factors, and to measure it, it's not easy. It's actually pretty hard. Radical approach can have very mass consequences in especially liberal democracies, as we can see. For example, Prague 7th district recently declared the state of climate emergency. So I would say the Fridays for Future have some impact. On the other hand, what kind of impact? Isn't it just the consequence of the pressure? Is it really based on some rational decisions? In dictatorships, there is another issue because such a protest, such a radical approach is usually not very effective because you're being simply destroyed by the power. And of course, there's a risk of manipulation. There is this kind of risk everywhere, but especially if you have mass protests, it's quite easy to find out a way how to put some ideas into it and get the masses manipulated, because there is some psychological aspect of this approach. What is parallel approach? It's the same with parallelní polis. The idea was proposed by Václav Benda in his essay called Parallel Polis, parallelní polis in Czech, as he reacted on the state of Charter 77, which was an organization fighting for human rights in the 70s in Czechoslovakia. And the core of this idea is you're not demanding solution, which is the approach of radicals. You're not forcing it, which is the reformative approach. You simply create it. Of course, you're not creating the solution, the global one for everything right now, but you create it and you have a chance to test it, you have a chance to iterate and to find out if this approach or if this solution works in a smaller scale. And please keep it in mind, because Michal and Dan will be talking about the scaling and iteration and so on as one of the core principles of parallel approach. It's practical and independent solution. What does it mean, independent? Independent solution means independent of power structures. If you already attended the Hackers Congress, you probably heard of ideas like independence of state, or ideas about the state power and its consequences. But let's summarize it. It's not only about state, it's about the power structure. So the examples I put on the board, this is not only the state, also corporations. So Facebook is definitely power structure. And it could be also the community governed by some psychopath or someone with big influence who is able to impose the power instruments and to get his solution towards others, actually, because like based on his power. What are the advantages of parallel structures? First of all, maybe they identify the real issues. So, for example, for us, if we have a problem with agriculture and the way how it's used, how it's operated, we can't change the whole agriculture, but we have to, if we want to do something, we have to find a way how to, let's say, change something. So, if, for example, you don't know what is in your food, what you're eating, and you want to get it more transparent, then you could find the way how to grow your food more transparently. So for example, in hydroponic system, because you use the water and you use some kind of fertilizer, you will probably know what is inside, or at least you have much better chance than if you buy something at the shop, because the whole chain is first of all intransparent, and it's also like very robust to get to know exactly what is it. Voluntary approach, as its advantage from ethical point of view, as well as if you do something voluntary, you also can stop doing it voluntary and change your mind, change your activity. And the mistakes are cheaper, because if you can change it more flexibly, then you probably not waste so many resources on your action if it's not effective and if it's the bad end, actually. So application on big problems, as I mentioned, Michal will talk about it in bigger detail. However, the idea is you start small and local solution, then if it works, you can scale it up to big and global solution. Also, if you would like to start the parallel project, the difference between the common startup and the parallel startup, let's say, or project, is that you're working on some common benefit. So this is the idea behind all together with the others. And last but not least, it's parallel, not counter approach. What does it mean? It's natural that if you bring some good solution that works and you're able to scale it, it might probably affect legislation, for example, or let's say reformative approaches as well as the radical approaches. So this is also something what Václav Benda in his essay predicted as a humanization of existing structures. So it's not that you're going to destroy the existing structures or destroy the power structures, but because of you succeed with your solution, the existing structures can get humanized or can get more effective and they adjust to the better solution. That's also part of the idea. So thank you, and now if you don't think it's possible or you're still asking how can someone think of using a small solution and scale up to big solution and change something from scratch, I would like to give a word to Michal, who is going to describe the principles and the specific way how we are doing that. Thank you.
Clicker. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody for coming. It's my pleasure to tell you our story about Parallel Garden and to put some context about the Radim part of the presentation, about the theoretical things, and to try to tell you some specific stories and how we did it, that we still continue in the project. How we build in parallel way from scratch, locally, but with global vision and ambition. When I was thinking to prepare this presentation, I came up with 4 principles, what we are doing, and that we are trying to stay with our project to be long-term and not be hyped just about the first interest of people in first 3 months in such place like a parallel polis, which is very common. And the 4 specific principles, the fusion is parallel polis strategy, loyal community, lean approach, and honest open source. And I will tell you about each of these and try to connect it. Parallel polis strategy, parallel approach. Radim told you a lot about the parallel polis and the concept of Václav Benda, so I will try to be quite fast in this part. But I would definitely recommend you to read the essay. It's just 8 pages, and it's written by Václav Benda. It's really important, to read it, because it's then it makes sense, like what is really matter to be parallel. About our project, I would like to say that we see Parallel Garden as an application of the parallel principle in agriculture, and we try to be inspiration to show that you can approach with that you can use the parallel approach also in other sectors, such as education, music, and journalism. This project would be something like parallel school, parallel sound, or parallel broadcasting. we are very lucky that we have this platform of parallel polis concept. We have this building, and we can gather the community and to get to meet very interesting people from different fields, you know, and it's very important. And the second principle is loyal community. And our story, you know, how we start to build a community, it was our main goal at the beginning. And we start to with production of Enviro meetups every 2 weeks. And we started last year, and the goal was to gather community together and speak with great professionals and meet people and speak about the problem in Enviro and so on. This is the picture after our fourth Enviro meetup, and you can see that the Institute of Crypto Anarchy is already quite full. Now we already produced something like 15 Enviro meetups, and regularly we have like 60 people here, you know, so it's quite big community, and we are lucky that the community is quite loyal to us, and we can speak with them, you know, and get some new insights, you know, and from different fields. Building the community, you know, like this is the story, you know, like it's not just about the producing Enviro meetups. You need to get the keys to the cafe, you know, because after the first 2 Enviro meetups, the people who came here to Parallel Polis, after the Enviro meetup, you know, they were said from the baristas in cafe that, oh, come on, you should not be here. It's already closed, you know. And then it's not possible to gather community, you know, when you don't have a space to meet with people and communicate. So we think with my colleagues, you know, and say, you know, how to make the place, you know, where you can stay with people and talk with them and have a lot of time to speak with them and find some new solutions, you know. So we take the keys and stay with people very often until 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, and then you have speak like for 6 hours or something like that. A lot of people from our communities is here today, so I'm very glad, you know. So yeah, this is the picture. It's something like 30 to midnight, you know, and very often we stayed until midnight or 12 o'clock in the morning, and it was very important to our project, you know, and we are still in touch with our community, and they helped us a lot, you know, also with the know-how, with funding, you know, and so on, a lot of things. I was very impressed, you know, how powerful it is when you are in regular touch with the people who are interested about your topics. So I really recommend to try to do this and to be authentic and open. The third principle is lean approach. It's methodology. I would definitely recommend this book, you know, because it's methodics, and you should be quite disciplined to follow the rules about the methodics and not be very creative, which is very common. Running clean, that was our inspiration. It's like something like 200 pages. And I would say 2 most important things, and I can see it very common also here in Parallel Polis, because it's linked with crypto projects and startups and so on, that you should be very careful, developed wisely, fast, and with respect to all resources of your project. But it's not just about money, it's also about the people, about your time. And sometimes people are too fast, but sometimes they are thinking too much, you know. So it's some kind of yeah, it's better to follow the methodics but the more important things, I would say that it's very often very accelerated, you know, that people in startups try to be very fast, expand and scale, you know, because it's hyped, you know, and you can see it in the movies and so on. But you should build a stable foundations of the project, and we really spend a lot of time to speak about our steps and what to do, and not be so big, you know, and every second week in television, or try to make a PR interviews and so on, and more to focus about the technology and try the first steps, you know, what the technology will do. And I can show you on example in our project in Parallel Garden. It's like iterations leading to the first rooftop greenhouse in the Czech Republic and Slovakia. That was our goal from the beginning. We wanted to build the first rooftop greenhouse on the top of Paralelní Polis, because this building is the best, you know, for such a project. I know it already from the past, you know, from my second project, the Kotel. So this community and people are great, and you can be very, very open in your visions. So that was our goal from the beginning. But when you think just to build the rooftop, the greenhouse rooftop, you would start just with money, with funding, you know, with talks about money and venture capital. But we did it different way, probably the lean way. This is like 1 year ago, and we just came to one, let's say, hackerspace, you know, and 3 people, and spent something like 20 hours to build the first hydroponic system. It's still there. It's in Bitcoin Cafe. You can we can go there, you know, after my talk and after Jakub, and we build this simple box. You know, it's nothing special, you know, it's no magic box or something like that. We just spend something like 20 hours together, meet each other and speak about our project. You know. That's the first iteration, worked very well, and impressed the community in Paralelní Polis, you know, because we put something like a new design piece, you know, in Bitcoin Coffee, and it's our Romantics is very strict about design in coffee, so, and like in whole Paralelní Polis. So a lot of people were interested how we made it, you know, like that our hydroponic system can be in Bitcoin Coffee. So we get some first interest, and the first hydroponic systems was without Internet of Things device. We didn't get any data. It was very simple, you know, with analog time, and only thing with computer was the web camera, which was taking, you know, 1 picture in 5 minutes or something like that. But it made some interest, and we got in cooperation with guys, you know, and you can see already the IoT device, Internet of Things. And after one month or 2 months of the project, we could get data from hydroponic systems. So we decided to build 8 of these smaller boxes to be able to iterate in the technology what we need to our goal to our rooftop greenhouse, which is the IoT automatization and LED lights. So we made 8 of these, and already it was crowdfunded from our closest friends, you know, and supporters from Paralelní Polis. So we were able to get some funding. Yeah, and this is the other iteration. It's already vertical hydroponic system, and we installed it not in Paralelní Polis, but in Bistro, very near from here in Letna, which is it's one of the most hipster place and bistros at Letna, so it get even more interest. But this vertical system is already scalable, you know. So you can use some kind of this technology or vertical hydroponic already in a rooftop greenhouse, you know. So we are already on our way, and this vertical hydroponics we already sold with profit, you know. So it's already profitable project, like not very important profit, but but we are able to build it and put it into the rooftop greenhouse. And this is the vision. And the last thing is honest open source. I would just want to say that we open all of our know-how on GitHub. You can build your own hydroponic systems. You can also buy or write to our friends to get the hardware and download all of the software or firmware written for our projects. You can download it and build it. But for a lot of people in our community, GitHub, a lot of people never heard about GitHub, you know. So you should be more careful how you communicate with the people. So we connected communication on GitHub, Facebook, YouTube, sometimes on Instagram, and we are doing every second week a YouTube streaming about the new iterations in our project. And so this is the regular contact with our supporters, and we are on our way how to build the rooftop greenhouse, and maybe in next Hackers Congress we will be able to guide you there and show you our new technology. Yeah, this is our friend, you know, from the community, and yeah. So this is our challenge. You can try our open source technology, and I would like to ask you to build one of first hydroponics on your own and share your experience with us. And now I will give the space for Jakub, and he will tell you more and give you some visual excursion about our projects. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you. I will speak mostly to the technological aspects of the project. So this is the first hydroponic box we built in the Bitcoin Coffee. Now, how it works. Basically, the box serves as the reservoir for the water with the nutritions. There is a pump, and the pump is pumping the solution to the irrigation system. And through these tubes and needles, the plants are watered by the drip irrigation. Then the excess water gets collected back in the box again and circulates inside. So we know exactly what is inside the system, what is the income for the plant to grow. We are saving water, about 97% of water consumption in comparison to the growing in the soil is saved. And basically we can grow anywhere we want, independently on the soil, on the let's say on the soil ownership, and also independently on the distribution chains, because we can grow anywhere. So that's one of the best advantages of the hydroponic systems. This is the first device we applied to the hydroponic system in the Bitcoin Coffee. This one, this IoT device serves just for the data monitoring. It doesn't control anything, but we are already collecting data about temperature, light intensity, or moisture of the substrate. The second one is this experimental box. As you will see, we have one of them installed in the La Fabrica, and you will see that it already looks a bit different because we made some adjustments on it. We had issues with the lights, that they were not strong enough, so we did some changes. But what's the biggest achievement is that now the system is monitored by the device, but also controlled. The device is controlling the pump and also the lights, not only in the regime on and off, but also it can control exactly the power of the lights, the electricity consumption, and so on. This is the soil sensor. This is the webcam for the picture collecting, and this is the latest design. This vertical one. This one is a little bit different because the plant is growing in the basket in the channel with a stable water level, and the substrate sucks the water up, and the roots are rooting in the water. There is only a small rockwool cube, or it could be some paper pot or jiffy pot, and the plant gets everything that needs from the water solution. As you can see, the water is running through the pipe. Under the system there is the reservoir, pumps the water up, and it goes back. So it's again, pretty simple. And this is the idea, something where we would like to get the automated greenhouse or whatever. But yeah, we are working a lot on the automation, not that much in the way to save the manpower, but to control the resources as wisely as possible. For example, we are now ready to start programming that the device will measure the light income from the outside and will control in real time the output of the light. So we will work precisely with the energy consumption and so on. So that's the way of automation we are trying to bring. If you are interested in the technologies, we are mostly communicating with the public through the Facebook, where you can also find the link to the GitHub and these, because it's just difficult to bring the people from, let's say, my profession or different professions to the GitHub. They don't know this platform. So yeah, that's our main communication channel. About the IoT device, well, in our way, it's a small computer or series of computers that communicate outside or between themselves through the internet. They serve to measure the data, store the data, and control the key elements in real time. We are so far measuring light intensity, substrate moisture, and temperature. Now we are controlling the light and irrigation system by operating the pump or solenoid valve, and later we will probably also take a look at the heat. Why? Because we would like to develop cost-wisely accessible automation technologies that are effectively working with the resources. This is our last installation of the IoT device. One of our friends was building this irrigation system on his field, and we managed to connect the IoT device to the system. So the system is series production, nothing special. We just added one cable there to be able to connect the device. And here there is the soil sensor. Then it sends data to the ESP, and then it controls the valve. This is how the data we are collecting look like from the soil. And we have a series of water meters to be able to calculate if we are saving the water. Basically, our idea is to operate the drip irrigation precisely on depending on the soil moisture in real time again. And the FarmBot is American open source project. We decided to build it well for a few reasons. First, there was a supporter who we met on our Enviro meetups, and he offered us to bring this thing because he bought it and he felt like it will be out of his capacity to build it and somehow make it work. So we took it over. We started programming it. It's also open source, so it gives us a lot of feedback about how open source project might look like and how to work with it. This FarmBot is basically something like 3D printer CNC machine that operates on the flower bed. It has tools that it can exchange and do some operations like irrigation, weeding. It can measure the soil moisture, and it moves and does this important work for instead of people. So yeah, for us it's mostly about the research. And this is the calibration of weeds. There is a camera installed inside. Each plant we want to grow has its coordinates, and the camera learns to recognize green. And once it sees anything green away from the coordinates of the culture plant, it destroys it because it evaluates it as a weed. This is how the farming software looks like. That it's quite interesting that even basically anyone can do it. It's like special programming language, which is also open source. So it's possible to learn how to do it. This is how the weed recognition looks like. this is the farm we're watering, and this is the tools it's using. There is the moisture meter, seeding needle, irrigation head, and so on. So that's it from my side. We would like to continue with a short tour through our installations because they're basically all nearby around. It's within the area, and also we have few samples of the lettuce we've grown in the hydroponics system. So feel free to taste and eat it all. Thank you.
But thank you. But before you go, take the tour and taste how the community life of Enviromeetups look like. We'd like to pass you a word, and if you have any questions, please raise them. We have like 5 minutes, so maybe 2, 3 questions, depending how brief you are. So, is there some question? Would anyone like to ask?
Do you have plans to weaponize the farm bot with the laser for the weeding part? And if so, what would be the power?
Guys, did you get the question? Please repeat.
Do you plan to develop a new module for the farm bot for the weeding, like equipped with the laser head and like, pew, zip it?
Not really. Maybe later, but I guess we don't really know how powerful it should be, and so far we don't know how to implement it to the system.
Someone wants to answer as well. Okay, so another question. Oh, there. Okay.
First, I want to congratulate you for the project. I think it's amazing. I would like to ask you if you consider aquaponica, which is basically creating a closed ecosystem where the fishes feeds from the plants that you have, and then you can have both kind of food.
Yeah, actually we have some we know about some other projects which are focused on aquaponics. So far we are not working with aquaponics for a few reasons. One is that it demands like another extra know-how, quite a lot of energy to spend on it. The second is that so far we have not seen any project that would not have like problems with the fish. Sometimes they die, sometimes they get disease. It must get solved somehow, and it can also affect the production. Also the nutrition water from the fish needs additives again to grow the plants. So far we are working with the system that we can understand more easily and faster. We are focused on using biological fertilizers and so on, and like maybe the next step will be aquaponics. But also, if you're running aquaponics system, you also need to find basically the economical, sustainable model with the fish, not only with the lettuce or the vegetables. It's another whole process to establish. So hopefully, yes, hopefully we will get there. But so far we're not there yet.
But regards fishes, we are definitely interested about using heat from mining or even from some kind of power plants, you know, to use it for some kind of fishes, you know, can work together. And so we are definitely interested about this combination.
Is there any other urgent question? If not, those who are interested, you can join guys. Otherwise, thank you for inspiring presentation and good luck with your other activities.